the Museo de Templo Mayor. Cuauhtémoc. Welcome back everyone to Mexico City, Mexico. We are back here, and in our last video we were touring just around here, the Templo Mayor de Tenochtitlan. And at the end of the tour there was actually this museum, and there's so much stuff to see in this museum. We weren't able to fit it into one video, but you're going to get to see it right now. So come along. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you want to help out the channel and help it grow, I really would appreciate it. Click on the like button down there, the subscribe button, and the little bell next to it to be notified for when new videos drop. It really helps the channel grow because it's going to help the YouTube algorithm recognize this content and spread it to other YouTube viewers. If you'd like to support the channel monetarily, I would appreciate that as well. You can leave a super thanks by clicking this thanks button here and give a small donation to the channel. I appreciate your support. So back to the video. Enjoy. At the end of the tour through the ruins, they have a temporary exhibition going on right here. Cuauhtémoc. I have some very interesting artifacts in here. Here's a skeleton of an eagle that is decorated with gold. You can see there. Look at this. This mural. The mural of the Spanish conquest. This is Leopoldo Batres. He was an archaeologist, the official, state archaeologist, basically, under Porfirio Diaz, who originally started, the project and originally excavated the very first part of the temple back in, the early 19th or 20th century. This is Manuel Gamio, another archaeologist who excavated many of the early excavations. You can see him here, sitting on top of at the Templo Mayor, that serpent sculpture decoration. One of the eagle sculptures. Oh man, this thing is so well maintained. Look at it, it's beautiful. This excavation project here. I have some pictures. Looks like from the excavations that they were doing in the 70s, and then up, like we said, out there, they're doing excavations still to this day. It's amazing, things that they've excavated here. Seashells, stone spearheads, turtle shells, ceramics, pottery. It's incredible. In addition to the temple, they were able to find all these other amazing artifacts. Oh, these are incredible. Look at these. Finding things like this that are so well preserved, but also they're so fragile. I mean, look at how fragile this piece must be. And they managed to preserve it, reconstruct it. These as well. Incredibly fragile, small ceramic pieces. It was at this point I was told by security that I was not allowed to film in here using my camera, that I could take pictures and film using my phone. So that's what we're going to do. So after the temporary exhibition on Cuauhtémoc on the first floor here, there's actually 8 more halls in this museum. It's a very large collection. Most of the things that they have in here are offerings, like burial offerings that they found within the temple site. As you can see here, this is offerings number 34 and 39. They have them all numbered. And the vast majority of things that you find in this hall are either these types of offerings, or sometimes they would also have like this serpent head that we saw outside attached still to the building. This is one of them that was detached and is placed here in the museum and is painted the way that it would be painted, or the way they think it would be painted when it was still on the temple and when the temple was in its glory. As you can see, this is just one of the halls, and like I mentioned, there's 8. So there is quite a sizable collection here. Some of the halls are even bigger than this one. The collection here, very impressive, and I like the way it was laid out too. In some of the cases, you have items that are similar to each other, like these obsidian pieces here, all in one case. But in the case next to it, they had what seemed to be a lot of different types of items laid out, and they had this gravel in the bottom of the case, which made it look kind of how it would have been found, maybe someone stumbled upon this collection within maybe a burial chamber or something inside the temple. Very interesting. With some of these other pieces, like this little statue, they just had them displayed alone by themselves. I think because this statue itself was just so impressive. And I don't know, personally, I think it looks really good in the case just by itself. Now, additionally, they had collections of these funeral masks over here. And this was just one case that there were actually a couple cases right next to each other with similar funeral masks in them. Very, very impressive stuff. But not all the things that are found in this museum are actually from the site of here in Templo Mayor. In fact, this whole next section here had stuff from all over Mexico, because of course the empire was very, very a very wide range all across a huge amount of territory. So there were things found from here in Puebla. These are funeral urns, and they were found on the Gulf of Mexico coast. More things in this case found on the coast of the Gulf of Mexico and also on the Pacific coast of Mexico. And things here from Oaxaca, things from regions all over. This case here with all of these really, really well preserved obsidian pieces. It's really cool to see all the different uses that they found for obsidian. You know, the volcanic glass that can be like chipped away and shaved into blades and all kinds of different shapes, all kinds of different functions as well. This I found really, really cool. This is a brazier, right? Like a large pot that they would put wood in and burn it for light. And this thing is a ceremonial brazier that is dedicated to the rain god, Tlaloc. And of course, one of the main two shrines here at the temple was dedicated to that god, the rain god Tlaloc. And we actually are going to see more of like ceremonial braziers and sculptures and statues that were dedicated to Tlaloc here in this collection. And you can see the size of the collection from different regions in Mexico here. This is actually just half of it. It actually continues around the wall there on the left. It's just an extensive collection with lots of pieces from regions all over Mexico. But of course, amongst these, there were also plenty of pieces found right here in the Templo Mayor excavation, including this really cool like pot. I don't know, it's just pot with an image. I think it's very cool. It's a little like head. In the next hall here, they had some of these really large sculptures, ceramic sculptures. This one is of Mictlantecutli, the Aztec god of death. And this is a really kind of creepy looking sculpture, if you ask me. He's sort of posed like half gaunt, like a skeleton almost. Looks like he's about to attack you. And interestingly, this was found actually in the Casa de las Aguilas, the House of the Eagles, that we saw that they're still actually doing excavation work right now, and we saw that in the last video. It's really amazing to me that this is a ceramic sculpture. This is basically life size. I mean, this thing is like 6 feet tall. And it's not carved out of a solid piece of stone like most sculptures this size would be. It's a ceramic sculpture. It's made out of, sculpted out of clay. In the same hall here, this amazing sculpture of an Aztec eagle warrior. Now this, also a ceramic sculpture, also like life size, about 6 feet tall. Really, really impressive. And this is not necessarily a god, but this is like a depiction of an actual Aztec warrior who would have been one of the most prominent warriors within the Aztec army. A really cool collection here of some of the stone statues that were found here in Templo Mayor on the site. We actually saw some of these in the previous video that were actually out there in the ruins, but it's cool to see them here, to know that they had a really extensive collection of these that were found. Also out there in the Templo Mayor in the last video, there were these stone frogs that were on the temple, and they have some of the stone frogs here that have been separated from the temple and are on display here. It's interesting here on the sign they show that frogs were seen as the announcers of water, very important to the Aztecs because they would croak intensely before it begins to rain. This is probably one of the most impressive things in the entire museum. This is an offering that was found in the Templo Mayor site, and it's a collection of a lot of different things. These stone beads arranged in this pattern, also seashells, 2 feline skeletons, and a human skull here in this, what I guess is like an offering, to a burial offering almost. You can also see some very small obsidian pieces in there. Just a truly, truly incredible find. And they've sort of arranged it here as it was found when they excavated the temple. More offerings here, and as I mentioned, it's such an extensive collection of offerings and pieces that they found that they excavated from the temple. It's a truly amazing archaeological find that they've excavated here painstakingly over the years, and of course at great cost. And it's just so amazing that they've done it, and I really appreciate seeing all these things. And here are pieces of another brazier dedicated to the god Tlaloc. Like I mentioned, there are more than a few statues and braziers dedicated to Tlaloc. Tlaloc, like I mentioned, also one of the main 2 shrines of the temple. Very, very important to the people here, as rain would have been, one of the most important things, because they would have relied on the rain and the regularity of the rain in order to water the crops that fed the civilization. And here in this like little diorama, you can see the extent of the Aztec civilization, and it shows all the different cities here on like a map, and then this model of where the different cities would be located in relation to each other. And as you can see, they were relatively far apart from each other with, a lot of sort of barren ground in between, but the cities themselves were massive, just these massive, amazing construction projects to build these huge cities with like a temple at the center. Just past this, there's a section dedicated to the different gods that the Aztecs worshipped. Here, Chico Mecotl, the Aztec god, whose name, I guess here, means seven serpent, it says on the sign, but the goddess of ripe corn. A lot of these gods and goddesses were gods and goddesses of agricultural things, which makes sense because without the agriculture, without the crops, the civilization dies. These here were statues of not really gods, almost like helpers of gods called Tlaloques, and they helped the god Tlaloc to spread the water and the rain across the land. Here they had this incredibly interesting model of what the crops would have looked like, how they would have planted the different crops in the agricultural fields. A really cool model. You can see it here from above as well, the extent of the different types of crops that they would have planted. This was really interesting to me because when we were visiting the ruins of Pumapungo, the Incan ruins in Ecuador, in Cuenca, they had a fully recreated Incan garden showing the way that they would plant crops. So I find it really, really interesting, these agricultural societies, how specifically they would plant crops. And here a model of an Aztec market. After the crops are harvested, they would all be brought to market, to a central market, so that people could get the food. Interestingly, towards the end of the exhibition here, they have excavated not just old Aztec artifacts, but also artifacts from the old Spanish Empire days, because of course this excavation was taking place in the 20th century. And there's stuff from back in, the 15 and 1600s that they would have excavated that would have been Spanish Empire stuff. Lots of ceramics, like these porcelain pieces, this cross here, and also iron tools here. An extensive collection of different metal pieces from that Spanish colonial era. Very interesting to see this because, of course, the modern culture of Mexico is a mix between the pre-Spanish Aztec and pre-Spanish indigenous cultures and also the Spanish colonial influence from, 1521 onward. In the final hall, the last thing you see before you leave is this giant inscription on the wall. It's huge. It towers over everything. And it translates to, "Proud of herself, Mexico City, Tenochtitlan rises. Here, no one fears death in war. That is our glory. That is your mandate. O giver of life, be aware, O princes, do not forget. Who will be able to lay siege to Tenochtitlan? Who will move the foundations of the sky? With our arrows, with our shields, the city continues to exist. Mexico, Tenochtitlan survives." Well, I think that's going to do it. That was an amazing experience, honestly. From everything inside the museum itself here that we were able to see, and also being able to walk through these ruins, the amazingly preserved and still currently being excavated, these ruins. It was truly an amazing experience. If you come here to Mexico City, this is a absolute must, 100% absolute must, to come to Plaza de la Constitucion and check out the Museo de Templo Mayor. Well, that was a pretty good first video, I think, for here in Mexico City, and there's going to be plenty more coming from here in Mexico City, so stick around for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one.